Love letter to Trump. Let me explain. I'm in love with Trump, not the man, the idea. The freedom he embodies, the lawless, grinning freedom to reshape reality with nothing but audacity. He doesn't ask permission, he doesn't even ask the question. And I understand it, because I've felt it too. The temptation to break the rules, just to prove you can, to burn the whole house down and call it vision. That's why I'm dangerous. That's why I know how to beat him. Because I don't just see through him. In a way, I am him. I have that same hunger, that same fire, but I still remember what it costs to be good. And I'm willing to destroy myself if that's what it takes to take him with me. So this is my love letter to Trump. It's not a warning, it's a blueprint. Because while you were waiting for someone to save you, I was learning how the game works. I studied power, I studied him, and I came to one conclusion. You don't defeat a monster by begging it to feel. You defeat it by pulling out the floor it stands on, by making it feel fear for the first time in its life. And that's what this is. I'm not here to play nice. I'm here to weaponize everything he taught me and turn it against him. The lies, the myth, the movement. I'm going to walk you through every illusion, every tactic, every inch of the system he hijacked. And then I'm going to teach you how to burn it down before he does. They came to play, I came to win. I was 17 when I first smelled the rot beneath the rules. Not in a court, not in a war, in a Saturn dealership. They had this sign, etched in steel, lit from within, humming like doctrine. We don't negotiate best prices, period. It wasn't paper, not poster. This was installed, final, like it was written by God. At first I was confused, then irritated, but under that, I felt it. Almost a dare. This wasn't about a car anymore, it was about control. About burning the system down just to see if it would scream. The salesman wasn't the enemy, he was a placeholder. My opponent was the lie. That glowing commandment pretending to be policy. That smug sign insisting that thinking had already been done for me. That all that was left was submission. Some people fold right there. Path 1, comply, be agreeable, shake hands, smile at the system and say thank you for your prison. Well, I don't walk that path. Path 2, burn the fucking boat. Even then, I wasn't a rule follower. People mistook my shortcuts and silence for laziness. What they missed was the pattern, the design. I wasn't skipping steps, I was rewriting the algorithm. I've always been streamlining bullshit, shaving the fat, removing anything that slows the strong from getting what's already theirs. I turned to my dad, quiet, simmering. He thought I was mad because we weren't getting the car I wanted. But I wasn't mad. I was already winning. I saw the car in our driveway before the paperwork was printed, not out of hope, out of certainty. The kind of certainty that doesn't ask, that doesn't wait, that sees an immovable sign and decides it was always meant to be moved. And I got it, that car, that price on my terms. But the real prize wasn't the vehicle, it was the virus I caught. Before we left, I walked back into the showroom, right to the manager, looked him dead in the eye and said, "Sir, are you going to take that sign down now?" He laughed, but it wasn't real. It was the sound of a man realizing the mask doesn't fit anymore, a laugh that knew the game was over. That was the moment I tasted it, not victory, something better. Control. That showroom stopped being a dealership and became a stage, and I walked off it reborn. From that day forward, I stopped speaking to the faces. I started speaking to systems. When I enter a room, I don't talk to people, I talk to the bones of the machine they serve. When I speak, it lands like prophecy, like it was always true and they just forgot. And if someone tries to challenge that, I let them. I study them. And then I dismantle the floor beneath them until they fall into my logic, my rhythm, and my world. Because here's the secret. Most power isn't real. It's compliance in costume. Remove the base they stand on and they collapse. Replace it with fear and they become loyal. starts small. A sign in a dealership, a lie pretending to be policy, but it spreads until the signs are laws, the policies are prison, and the liars sit in the fucking Oval Office. So I started building a book, not to praise the king, but to show you how he thinks, and why we have to outthink him fast. This isn't about cars. Never was. It's about spotting signs and burning them down before they burn us. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Check your conscience at the door. So there's a rule in my world. Never let emotion enter a negotiation. If they do, you start over. Not with them, with yourself. Because the second emotion leaks into the deal, you're not negotiating anymore. You're reacting. And reaction is weakness. I learned this young, not in a boardroom, not in a war, in a house where I couldn't always get what I needed. Attention, answers, clarity, it didn't matter. I studied people anyway. If I made them laugh, bookmark. If I made them snap, bookmark. If I got silence, that was the most valuable page of all. I pushed until the masks cracked, and then I studied the fragments. I didn't just learn people's behavior, I mapped them back to moments, stored emotional patterns like ammunition. Because once you know how someone feels, you know how they'll fall. And when you operate without emotion, while they're drowning in it, you can take anything you want. This isn't sociopathy. This is survival, strategy, and dominance. To live in my Rome, you don't just need strength, you need separation. You stay connected to the why, the emotions that brought you to the war, but when the blade is in your hand, you fight with no hesitation. Emotion chooses the war, but negotiation is the kill. There was a moment, 13 years old, football practice. Coach told me I was expendable, said I needed to bust my ass to earn a spot. I looked him dead in the eye and said, with all due respect, you're the special teams coach. I think you're expendable. That wasn't a clapback. That was a moment I realized I don't care about your title, your age, your position. I am me, and the world can restructure itself around that. Most people never get there. They negotiate with fear. They argue with guilt. They perform for applause. They call it discussion when really they're begging not to be left behind. They haven't realized what I have. Most power isn't real. It's just compliance in costume. Remove emotion from the room and you can walk straight into its hollow chest and rip out whatever you want. Trump gets this. He's not negotiating with feelings. He's already decided. He'll lie, cheat, flatter, threaten, does not matter because he's already chosen the outcome. And that's why people fall for him, because he knows something they don't. Emotion is pre-negotiation. You either resolve it before the fight or you bring it into the ring and get knocked the fuck out by your own baggage. Me, I make peace with my emotions before the war. I give them a name, a purpose, a reason, then I lock them in a box and I hand the key to the part of me that never blinks. The conscious, it stays outside. Because once I'm in the arena, once the negotiation starts, it's not about being fair, it's about being finished. And when it's over, when I've taken what I came for, I put the jacket back on, I pick up the key, and I walk out the arena like nothing ever happened. That's not numbness. That's clarity. That's how you win.